In the beginning, there was nothing. Then, boom, Big Bang, instant universe, zero foreplay. From that cosmic ejaculation came the Infinity Stones, 6 ancient MacGuffins so powerful, entire empires would fall trying to collect them. Somewhere, out in the void, cosmic beings were being born. Death, eternity, and the living tribunal. Even though that last one sounds less like a god and more like a prog rock band your uncle won't shut up about. Meanwhile, a space giant named Galactus hatched from the corpse of a dead universe and immediately decided, I think I'll eat some planets. Because reasons. Then came the aliens. The Kree, who started abducting humans for their illegal DNA modding side hustle. The Skrulls were shape-shifting their way into Cold War paranoia before Earth even had nukes. And the Celestials, they rolled in hard and started playing fast and loose with evolution. The human genome is basically the Marvel equivalent of an unlocked iPhone. Enter Asgard, an intergalactic frat house with magic hammers, sibling rivalry, and a king who solves problems by declaring wars on ice giants. Thor dropped by Earth long enough to inspire Norse mythology and probably impregnate a few Vikings. Loki? Less helpful. More burn it all down and ask questions never. Then came humans. Oh, sweet, messy humans. They looked at the stars and thought, hey, what if we built a nuclear bomb and tried to punch God? So naturally, secret societies formed. S.H.I.E.L.D's weird great-grandfather, alchemists, Nazi cults, and a few dudes in monocles arguing about alien cubes. And in the darkest corners of the 20th century, one man said, I want to use this cube of cosmic doom to help the Nazis win the war. That man was Johann Schmidt, aka Red Skull, aka what if Voldemort and a bottle of Heinz had a baby? He founded Hydra, the only group in history whose motto was basically Hail Satan, but make it fascist. Meanwhile, in America, Project Rebirth was launched. Because if there's one thing the Americans loved more than war, it's experimental body modification without informed consent. And standing in the middle of this axis of chaos, a 90-pound asthmatic with chronic patriotism, a spine made of stubbornness, and the kind of moral compass that makes nuns look lazy. His name was Steve Rogers. And the moment he steps into that machine, the world will never be the same. So strap in, because before we get to Iron Man, Bro Gods, or purple raisin men with jewelry fetishes, we start with a scrawny kid from Brooklyn and a needle full of star-spangled steroids.
That is not factually accurate.
What are you wearing?
This is a comic-accurate uniform. Not only that, it's bulletproof.
Absolutely no way in hell am I wearing that.
You're wearing a Mandarin jacket, white boy. Don't judge.
So, what do we do here? Save the world?
We review mission logs.
Any fights? Escapes? Assassinations?
We review
Gambling? Girls? Cars?
mission logs.
I'm missing my 6.
Well, it's an Amazon warehouse now. Shut up and I'll buy you an ice cream. There's a lot to get through here, so let's just start at the beginning.
Hello and welcome to a review.
No, the beginning of the mission files.
Oh, you mean the
opening scene.
Smash cut to the Arctic. It's colder than your ex's heart out there, and some scientist who clearly lost a bet is waddling through the tundra like a penguin with IBS. He's literally standing around like, I hope I don't freeze to death out here for no fucking reason, when other guys drive up. Frosty McChilly asks if these guys are so-and-so, and the new guys say, who the fuck else were you expecting out here? And for real.
For real, who else is going to be out here in the middle of the fucking Arctic other than the people who called you out to the middle of the fucking Arctic?
Like, what? This starts a trend this movie will never cease, constantly calling out its own bullshit as if it gives it a pass. It does not.
The origin of Captain Rogers in the modern day, a little bit, because this is not how he was found in the comic. This is totally a retcon. The way he went down in the comic books and everything.
In the originally,
we'll get to
in the comics.
Original in the comic books. He was frozen in a block of ice. Just himself. No airplane, no nothing like that. And then later on, while the Avengers were fucking around with Namor, they found said block of ice with Captain America on it and brought him back.
And they thawed him out, and he woke up, and he ran away and stole some cars.
Something like that.
The Matt Salinger version.
Yes, I'm going to be sick. Ugh.
They've stumbled upon a massive, crashed aircraft buried in the ice. Apparently a retcon. Thanks, Carter. Inside, one of the guys sees the famous shield poking through the ice and goes, I should probably call this in. Like he's calling it a pothole and not America's frozen fuckboy of justice. Trademark.
At least they had the good common sense to wear PPE when they entered this ship of unknown origin.
Yeah.
But not to cover the hole they cut into the expose whatever was in there to the atmosphere. Just saying.
It's, they weren't thinking of, too much about it. They were more about themselves than, the atmosphere and everybody else in the future. Fuck them. To be fair, this guy does understand the significance and teases frozen scientists about it. But still, the casual energy is unmatched. They just found the cryogenic CrossFit king, but apparently this sort of thing happens all the time to him.
Typically, his origin in the comic book is he is a World War II experiment, frozen in a block of ice, brought back in the late 60s.
But how is he frozen? They just set him out there to chill for a few hours and forgot about him?
Well, no, he fell off of a rocket with his sidekick,
Bucky.
Bucky.
With Bucky, yeah.
Who, by the way, I don't know if you know or realize this, but Bucky is the second oldest Marvel hero, right after Cap.
That's crazy.
Right?
Another reason why Bucky is more awesome than you know.
Just saying.
But this whole cold as balls opening is all just set up for what we all already know. Steve, I'm too pure for this timeline Rogers, got himself turned into a bicep-flavored popsicle sometime back in the good old World War Part Duh. So naturally, the film hard yeets us 70 years into the past, where there was jazz, Nazis, and absolutely no understanding of subtle fashion choices.
Or science.
Norway, 1942.
Cut to some quiet Norwegian village where the only threat used to be sheep-related, until Hydra rolled in with a goddamn tank the size of a mobile war crime. Subtlety? Never met her.
Tonsberg. That's the name of the place in Norway, Tonsberg. And it has real significance, especially to the Norse Parthenon, as it's Odin's favorite place on Earth. Tonsberg is where the Frost Giants invaded in in the first Thor movie. Tonsberg is where Odin dies in the last Thor movie.
Is that where they New Ragnarok is? Or New...
that's where New Asgard
is
Asgard. Established, yes, is Tonsberg, Norway. So Tonsberg plays a throughout role in the greater MCU and Infinity Saga.
Until the Nazis show up, this scene is so jarring to me, because we just watched the opening to The Thing, and now we're in a Robin Hood movie. What is this set direction? Well, background direction, because I feel like there's only one real built set and the rest is keyed.
Well, there was actually 115 practical sets in this, and I know you say they all look digital, and most of them were probably digitally enhanced, especially the Dancing Girls set. On the very end, all of those dancing girls were duplicated.
And there was fireworks behind them on the stage.
Oh, and the thing was glowing in Captain America's shield. It had the red circle, white circle, star in the middle, fireworks. It was beautiful to behold. Digitally done, but beautiful.
It was 5-star performance. Give him a Tony.
Yeah, I know.
Out pops Johann Schmidt, a.k.a. Red Skull. AKA, what if a skeleton fucked a candy apple? He's played by Hugo Weaving, who dials the Nazi performance up so hard it breaks through irony and loops back to Shakespearean theater. Dude is ham incarnate with a side of fascist sprinkle.
I read that Hugo Weaving studied Werner Herzog's accent to nail his German accent, to ham it up even that much more.
I believe
you can
that.
definitely hear that.
I definitely feel like he had the most convincing German accent because there's an actual guy from Germany who wrestles in the WWE, and he had like the exact same accent. Red Skull is here to steal the Tesseract, a glowing blue cube of cosmic MacGuffinness just chilling in some random Viking crypt. Why? Because apparently ancient Norwegians saw this thing and were like, let's just throw the glowy death cube in the basement and go get strudel. Or they're just hiding it for some reason, whichever you like more.
Well, according to the MCU, this is where Odin decided to hide it.
Yeah, but F that guy. He's just a bad dad in the MCU.
He's a bad dad in the MCU. He's way worse in the comics.
Yeah. Schmidt breaks in, slaps some ancient stone walls around, finds the Tesseract like it's a damn Easter egg, and then, just for flair, murders an old man. Okay, we get it, guy, you're evil. You've got the leather trench coat, the skull motifs, and the most convincing German accent in the film.
Let's not forget about that car, that V16 Roadster based on a Mercedes-Benz 540K and a G4. 6 wheels for off-roading.
Oh, 6? Is it for off-roading or is it for holding up its own weight?
It's for holding up its own weight.
The off-roading is the added benefit. Gazing into the terror trap, he mutters,
And the Führer digs for trinkets in the desert.
which is 1, a dig at Hitler, and 2, a less obvious fuck you to Indiana Jones. This man is petty and genocidal.
He is definitely petty and genocidal. Red Skull is evil incarnate, and he came much later because traditionally in the very first Captain America comics, the enemy was Hitler, and that was even before we got into the war.
Cap punched Hitler. You'll hear it a lot.
First issue.
Brooklyn, 1942.
Time to meet Steve Prejuice Rogers, played by Chris Evans' face pasted onto a Victorian paper doll. This poor bastard is built like a strong gust of wind would send him into a coma. The army takes one look at his enlistment forms and goes, bro, if we sneeze near you, you'll explode. Steve has every medical condition short of actual death. Asthma? Check. Heart problems? You bet. Bone density? Somewhere between toddler and chalk stick. But does he still want to fight the Nazis? Of course he fucking does. Because this man has main character syndrome so hard, it loops into a clinical diagnosis. You'd think I'm kidding, as he is the main character, but this guy actually shows a lot of signs of personality disorders.
Steve Rogers only has one personality disorder, and that is American Pie patriotism. Which,
Hypernationalism is only one of his disorders. Hero complex, martyr complex.
Yeah. Lancelot complex.
Mm-hmm.
You can go down the list. But all he really wants to do is punch Nazis.
That's a little psychopathic. I mean, it's mundane and not as bad as someone like murdering sorority girls, but it's
So
be cool,
in
though.
the comic books, can you kind of guess Steve's birth date?
Is it July fucking 4th?
It is 1920. Captain America was created in a time where Hitler was on a tear through Europe. America was not quite in the war yet. Joe Simon and Jack Kirby had a bug up their ass about Nazis. They didn't like them.
Nazis. I hate these guys.
His first appearance was in Timely Comics back in 1940, I believe. December 20th, 1940. Captain America #1 was published, which gives you all the greats like Red Skull, Captain America, Bucky Barnes. Joe Simon and Jack Kirby, they had Nazi protest out of their door because they put Hitler on the cover getting punched out by Captain America. They had dudes calling up their place of work, telling them, meet me outside, to which Jack Kirby said, I'll be right down. It's crazy, right? Full circle,
You write what you know.
right?
Every time Steve gets rejected from enlistment, he just commits light identity fraud and tries again. This is apparently the 4th time he's falsified enlistment forms, which his bestie goes out of his way to mention twice. And we often see signs keyed into frame behind Steve that doing so is illegal, as he's doing it. So the movie knows and wants you to know it too. Speaking of that bestie, enter Bucky Barnes, Sebastian Stan. He looks like a recruitment poster came to life and decided to flirt with every nurse in a 3-mile radius. He's also always saving Steve, who's out here getting into fights with dudes 3 times his size because the other guy wanted to skip the ads. Also, because Steve's got the invincible yet dumb spirit of a golden retriever in the body of a scarecrow, sprinkled with a pinch of unhealthy nationalist pride.
I'm glad the MCU decided to age up and kind of role reverse Bucky in this, because in the comic books, Bucky starts out as an orphaned boy adopted by GIs as their mascot to live on base, who accidentally stumbles in upon Captain America changing because he has a secret identity, and then proceeds to blackmail Captain America to take him on dangerous missions as his sidekick.
We found this boy and we adopted him to be our company mascot on the front lines. Then he walked in on a dude changing, and then now that dude just takes him straight out on dangerous missions behind enemy lines. Oh yeah, and he got him killed on a rocket.
Eventually.
Spoiler for like 100-year-old comics, by the way.
The MCU did a fair amount of adjusting by making Bucky Barnes into Sebastian Stan, all grown up, taking care of a weak Cap. That's a better dynamic overall.
The alley fight.
Steve, with the emotional restraint of a wet napkin because of his psychotic obsessive hero complex, literally picks a fight with a meathead twice his size, and promptly gets his ass turned into sidewalk paste. This man is fighting for freedom, but freedom just curb stomped his ass.
And this is a kind of right out of the comic books of a reissue of Captain America's origin. So they were trying to stick to some comic book accuracy in this scene, and then they came up with the ultimate tagline for Captain America ever.
Then we get the line, trademark. The Marvel Cinematic Mantra.
I can do this all day.
Which is both inspiring and clinically delusional.
It's so good they turned it into a Broadway song.
I can do this all day. Yeah, that's funny. Fun fact, this line was so quotable that Marvel now shoves it into every Cap movie like a contractual obligation. So, once again, and out of literally nowhere when you think about it, Bucky shows up and rescues Steve. And thank God, because one more punch and Steve would have been legally declared ground chuck.
I like how he jumps up and puts the garbage can lid up as a shield, and the guy just rips it out of his tiny little hand.
You like that? You like that symbolism and foreshadowing?
Yeah, the first time.
Oh, I was about to say get used to it because they're going to do it a few more times. They're going to beat that horse.
And I forgot to say, the CGI on Steve at the time was kind of remarkable.
I'm going to say I politely disagree. I guess at the time when you're watching it, you're like, oh yeah, that's pretty good. But looking back now, at the very least, I could just say this, that in 2025 watching it, all I could focus on was how he looked pasted on, and it was the jawline. And I think it's once I saw the jawline and the blurriness and the tuckedness of it, it's like one of those things like once you see, you can't unsee. It's all I could focus on, and it looked terrible to me after that.
They spent a significant amount of time like filming every shot 4 times with Chris Evans, and then the guy who played Chris Evans, Leander Denny, who also got a barman cameo in the same movie. He was the bar guy.
In the scene with the red dress.
Yeah.
Don't get me wrong, they went above and beyond. And especially like the movements and the tracking. That's insane. And it's one of the hardest things to control and get right. So I did think it was very convincing when it came out.
It doesn't hold up.
It just doesn't hold
fantastically.
Up, yeah. The two boys hit the World's Fair, where Howard Stark, Dominic Budget Tony Cooper, tries to show off his new flying in the fucking 40s car, which immediately explodes. Yes, Stark Tech. Always one bad idea away from manslaughter. Or ending the world.
You'll notice a reoccurring theme with most technology in this universe. Seems like if you turn it all the way up and it explodes, it's a success.
This guy playing Tony's dad here, man. He looks like he would fit in a Rocketeer movie or something.
The moment you think you know what's going on in a woman's head is the moment your goose is well and truly cooked.
Well, that's because the guy who directed this movie is the guy who directed Rocketeer.
Joe Johnston.
Oh, there you go.
These guys are supposed to be on a double date, and it's time to go dancing, which I think is 40 slang for dancing.
Or 2000 slang for coffee, if you know what I mean.
2010 slang for Netflix and chill,
Mm-hmm.
if you know what I mean. But Steve just wants to go lie to some recruiters again. Bucky wonders if Steve's dick even works, and then says, screw it, and takes both the girls dancing himself.
Smart man, that Bucky Barnes.
Yeah.
I don't know if you caught it, but during this whole expo scene, there's a guy in red tights encased in a tube. That is the OG Human Torch.
Not the
The
imitators.
first Human Torch was the first Human Torch was an android. Anytime he was exposed to air, he would burst into flames. He fought alongside Cap, Namor, Bucky Barnes, and his sidekick Toro.
I can't
as
believe
the
James Gunn
original-
didn't put that guy in a movie.
Is the original invaders.
That's right up his alley. Yeah, put him in the air and you just start screaming in agony.
Yeah, pretty much. And those were the original invaders for World War II. They fought alongside of greats like Union Jack, who makes a secret cameo later on as one of the Howling Commandos. We'll get
It's
to
a
that.
secret, so don't tell anyone or we'll have to kill you.
Aren't they all?
Enter Dr. Erskine.
Steve's determination and many counts of fraud catch the attention of Dr. Abraham Erskine, Stanley Tucci in lovable scientist mode. This guy is basically the MCU's Mr. Rogers, if Mr. Rogers also invented steroids. He looks at this repeat criminal liar and is like, yep, that one, the punching bag with the martyr complex.
Yeah, he does, because he's already failed his previous attempts to make a super soldier because he understands what his serum actually does to people and make your face fucking fall off.
I
For
don't
one
think he
thing.
learned anything. I truly don't. And here's what I mean by that. He shot up a hyper-nationalistic, super superiority guy who wanted to commit violence with a super serum. And when that fucked up, he went to a different place, found a hyper-nationalized person who wanted to commit violence against other people and decided to shoot him up with the same drug.
Well, he is a scientist.
You do need to get repetitive results. I get that. You got to verify your results. Actually, it makes sense now. We're moving on. Erskine is a German scientist turned defector who wants to atone for his sin of injecting someone with experimental steroids that had unforeseen side effects by injecting another dude with his homebrewed blue space juice, V2, trademark, and see if that guy becomes Captain Jesus. And Steve is down. Of course he is. This walking courage disorder will take any excuse to be sent to shoot people. I mean, fight the war. Same thing. Pre-juice Steve truly has issues. Therapy was also an option, my man.
Pre-juice Steve was an orphan who just felt that he needed to help everybody the best way he knew how, and that was to go die horribly in World War II.
No, pre-juice Steve was a scrawny dude who'd been pushed around and ignored his entire life, and he was looking for any way he could to matter because he didn't feel like he did. And it was actually a bit of a narcissistic sign. The fact that he was willing to die to just not be the scrawny little joke of a kid in Brooklyn. I mean, screw it. He was going to die anyways. He was like an asthmatic. It was like the size of my pinky.
Training camp.
The next day, Pre-Cap arrives at the training camp, where Colonel Chester Phillips, Tommy Lee Jones playing himself again, is already over this shit.
He's making me cry.
He complains a lot and spends most of the scene roasting Steve like a Thanksgiving turkey that's all bone.
Well, if it isn't the Star-Spangled Man with a plan, what is your plan today?
This is probably, for me, the funniest part in the whole movie because of Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones is a guy who, in the end of his career, got lazy and just started playing himself. But at the same time, people were smart about casting him in roles where, like, his serious, grumpy nature would be a good comedic foil.
Yep, 100%.
Meanwhile, Peggy Carter, Haley Atwell, arrives and immediately punches a soldier in the face for being written so stereotypically sexist. This is Disney, so she's basically here to be extremely strong and confident, smarter than everyone else, and the main character's love interest. Nailed it,
Right.
Disney. She looks great in red, though.
She looks great most of the time.
She fills out that uniform.
Very nicely. Yeah, absolutely. The training camp is Camp Lehigh, which is a historical base of operations for Captain America in the comic books. It's where he got his start at, and it's where he was based out of whenever he went on his missions. All of these scenes were filmed in your favorite backlot at Pinewood.
Oh, you mean the Vietnam hover-round lot.
Yes.
The grenade test.
Steve shows ingenuity with out-of-the-box thinking. He shows courage and determination. But still, Colonel Jones wants a meathead, not the 90-pound noodle with the fuzzy jawline. The colonel says courage wins wars and throws a dummy grenade at the platoon. Every sane person dives for cover. But Steve? This absolute psychopath throws himself on it like it's his job to eat shrapnel for breakfast. No hesitation, just full send dive. Congratulations, 5'0" skeleton made of paper mache. You've just won yourself a super glow-up. And Jones grumbles.
He's still skinny.
Captain Carter actually kind of thinks about jumping on a live grenade.
She definitely, budges towards it. But I think she just realizes she's nowhere near as close, and Steve was already leaping his tiny ass on it.
100%.
Here's my thing about that. He's mostly bone. I don't know how much of that he would have absorbed or just become shrapnel.
The super serum.
Before Steve shoots up, Erskine tells him the juice amplifies what a person is in every way, simultaneously insinuating that it made Red Skull more evil, and it'll make Steve even more insufferable. Then, it's time for Steve to go through the world's most illegal gym routine.
How would you like to have a stomach that looks like this? How would you like to get the great feeling of a trimmer, slimmer waistline? Introducing 8-Minute Abs, the fast way to get results where you want them most.
8-Minute Abs is great. I pop it in, I'm done, and it works.
8-Minute Abs takes you through a series of simple movements scientifically designed to get you fast results. It takes just 8 minutes, and it will tighten and trim your waistline.
I use 8-Minute Abs, and I recommend it to all of my clients. It's very effective and fast.
I used to wear loose clothes to hide my tummy, but look, now I use 8-Minute Abs.
They inject him with roids, lock him in a glorified tanning bed, and crank the dial up to what the fuck. 30 seconds later, out pops Chris fucking Evans in peak Marvel diet form, looking like a statue made of patriotism and creatine. Everybody in the room pauses like they just saw a nude Renaissance painting walk out of a sauna. Peggy even does the world's most awkward, thirsty attempt at touching his freshly minted abs. Consent? Never heard of her. But gender-swapped objectification is progressive now, right?
That was a totally unscripted move on her part. That was 100% impulsive.
She let
Couldn't
the
help
intrusive
herself.
thoughts win.
True story, Chris Evans did about 100 push-ups just before that scene, just so he'd be a little extra pumped.
True story, he did 100 push-ups. Then, of course, a Hydra spy shoots Erskine, and Steve has to go full Bourne Identity through the streets of Brooklyn barefoot. He chases this man down like he's late for a CrossFit class, YOLOs off buildings, and doesn't even flinch at broken glass, and he stepped on the shattered sill. Welcome to the super soldier life, baby. Hey, can I ask you a question? Where did that Hydra assassin come from? Because the lab was a secret military lab hidden under a Brooklyn antique shop, guarded by a burly 40s MP for every square yard and the old woman from Goldfinger. How'd they get in?
Well, when you start involving senators, you know.
Are you saying he can't trust politicians?
I'm not saying you can't trust politicians, but I am saying you can't trust politicians.
I'm just saying, like, all one-line explanations aside, it just seems really crazy that they have, like, this underground secret code facility, and then they just let anyone in unvetted.
Yeah, well, that's the
He
thing,
was in
right?
the car with me. He rode with me, I think was the line.
Right. He's vetted because the senator's vetted, and everybody in the senator's party is vetted because the senator's vetted.
That's
stupid.
That's
yes,
stupid.
But it's 1942.
Damn it.
Not only did he get in, he got in with explosives and a gun. Nobody frisks this dude.
Right? Like, there's just no security measures. I'm with him. That's the security measure.
Right?
Did you notice when it did explode, like, it only showed it for a few frames, and, like, nobody was moving down on the bottom?
Yeah.
Like, there's, like, no shockwave blowing people's hair away. Like, they eventually fell over on their cue, but it was just, like, for a while, you could just put, like, the dog in there from the meme. Like, this is fine.
Right?
Post-transformation.
So, Steve's now juiced to the gills and chasing Nazis like a parkour demon. Swims faster than a future Hydra sub. He nabs the Hydra agent, but dude says, "Hail Hydra!" crunches a suicide tooth, and turns his own skull into Gatorade. That's commitment, or at least dental negligence. All this, and now they just want to keep Steve in a lab, for some reason. But instead, he's approached with,
the worst career move ever.
In the comic books, Steve Rogers didn't have to go through any of this bullshit. He was a super secret super soldier.
Not even in the retcons?
Not even in the retcons.
It's stupid, it makes no sense, but at the same time, it totally still feels like something America would do.
Oh, yeah, no, it totally feels like something America would do.
It's got that John Basilone feel to it, if you know what I mean.
Yeah.
Here's a war hero, super guy, he's the best ever. He's gonna do some numbers for some bonds now. So here comes the US government, asking the important question. Should we use this genetically enhanced super soldier to turn the tide of World War II? Nah, bro. Let's slap him in some spandex and have him perform musical numbers with chorus girls. And thus, Captain America, the propaganda musical, trademark, is born.
I love how they get him to sell war bonds to kids and parents.
It gets better than that. Wait till he's in the 2010s and they start frickin' having him do PSAs.
Well, he is Captain America.
Nothing smacks of America more than telling you how to parent your kids.
Get them while they're young.
So Steve goes from badass vigilante to the Star-Spangled Show pony.
Series E defense bonds. Each one you buy is a bullet in the barrel of your best guy's gun.
Reading off war bond speeches in front of tanks, punching fake Hitlers, and flexing for horny housewives. And look, the actual performance, Star-Spangled Man with a Plan, a jazzy little number, written by actual genius Alan Menken. Yes, the 90s Disney Renaissance guy. The man don't miss. Low-key, a bop. Catchy little song. Lots of kick lines. For real, Captain America is absolutely the main character of a Broadway show no one asked for.
The Star-Spangled Man with a Plan. That's a callback in Civil War. I think Romulo says it.
Jones says it in this movie. The way he says it is like he's shitting on him. It's hilarious.
Yes, oh man, Tommy Lee shits on him the whole movie.
Major Monroe does movies, shows, signings. He's basically Elvis.
Yeah. And you know what I can't understand is they want to keep him, take blood samples, start a...
Hey, that's classified. We're not necessarily confirming or denying any Isaiah Bradley's, or we didn't say his name.
If you want the whole history of the super soldier serum, first of all, it's Vita rays. Nobody else had Vita rays. If you notice, nobody else quite transforms like Captain America transforms, except for the Abomination.
That explains US Agent.
Gamma rays, not Vita rays. Totally different thing.
That explains that too.
Yeah, no, there's been several super soldiers, not counting the Tuskegee Airmen with Isaiah Bradley, the black Captain America nobody knows about, US Agent. There was a guy who thought he was Captain America for a hot minute in the 60s. Kind of a psychotic break while Captain America was frozen. He was actually going around as Captain America, but he wasn't.
Phony. An imposter, if you will.
Well, a man with mental issues, we'll say that.
In the movie, Steve stumbles at first, becoming more and more confident as the shows go on until he's practically Fred Astaire, dressed as a flag.
Dressed in a flag.
Meanwhile, the troops on the front lines are like, how is this supposed to help us not die? Spoiler, it doesn't.
No.
Italy! Steve shows up at an actual battlefield in full glitter Patriot mode, and the soldiers are not impressed with Uncle Sam's pyloprotein, which, honestly, fair. Imagine you're in a foxhole dodging Nazi gunfire, and some gym bro in tacky tights shows up singing, "Buy war bonds, I'm awesome." You'd throw tomatoes too. And who keeps bringing tomatoes to variety shows?
That's a premeditated, I'm not going to like this show. I just want you to know.
On the front lines mess hall.
Fresh tomatoes at that. So, yes, stolen. Trust me, the chef missed them. Anyway, it's not a good look for Captain America. Unproven, trying to sell war bonds to GIs who are at war. Bring back the dancing girls, man.
It also plays off earlier. When he came out, he was uncomfortable at first. He was struggling to read his lines on the back of his shield. And after a while, throughout the montage, you see he's just done it. He's not only memorized everything, he's comfortable, he's smiling, he's moving more charismatically. He's become programmed to the performance. And he comes out here and he's doing the same thing and showing the same grin, looking for the same reactions he gets from the housewives at home. And they're looking at him like, Bring out the chicks.
Absolutely, because nobody wants to see this clown in tights prancing around in pirate boots.
Well, they're suffering and they're dying, and he's just now understanding the disconnect. And then Steve learns Bucky's entire unit got captured behind enemy lines. And this man, this newly minted glorified cheerleader, is like, you know what? I'm going to disobey direct orders, go behind enemy lines, alone and dressed like a flag, and save my bestie.
Well, I like how at the end of the show, he's just sitting there drawing a picture of himself as a monkey on a unicycle. That is a great callback because in comic book canon, Steve Rogers draws Captain America comic books in his spare time for change.
It's a pretty good bit. You instantly understand his frustration.
Right.
With just an image. Exactly.
Mm-hmm.
So cue other Agent Carter and Tony's daddy being like, are we seriously letting a walking Mr. America pageant wander into Nazi Germany solo? And then immediately do it anyways because, why not?
Oh, I like how they have his first comic book accurate kind of costume. The leather jacket, the helmet with the wings even. The original shield as a shield.
This one gets me, it's comic accurate, but it's made from his and the chorus girls' props. And,
right. None of it's
and
real.
A jacket and goggles. None of it's real. Please don't shoot that shield. Or the helmet.
Right.
Honestly, Peggy just seems to slightly enjoy all the chaos. And his ass cheeks. And Stark is not only rich and smart, he's also an enabler.
And a shit talker. Does anybody want a fondue? I should probably note that Peggy Carter, her first appearance was in Tales of Suspense number 75 and 66, I believe. And she was unnamed, just a love interest for Steve Rogers. And that ran for about 2 issues. She didn't pop up again until 77 in Captain America 162 as Peggy Carter. She really got a role in this movie that she did not have in the comic book.
Hey, I like it.
Oh yeah, no, it's definitely an upgrade.
Behind enemy lines.
Howard flies Steve behind enemy lines in a plane, and because Steve is a fucking show-off, he jumps out without a parachute into hostile territory like a bald eagle dripping in freedom and roid rage.
This is the first time of many times that Steve Rogers will jump out of an airplane without a parachute, except for the one time he should have.
For real? Wait a second. Wait a second.
He does it all the time.
Why not then? Wait, yeah.
Except for that one time, which I have a theory we'll talk about.
Steve then punches his way through some goons and breaks into a Hydra factory which looks like if Willy Wonka and a Panzer Division had a baby. Inside, we've got Red Skull, now rocking full Halloween mode. His face is literally a peeled tomato.
A pretty remarkable shot. The only real CGI they used here was to get rid of his nose. It does look like he peels his fucking face off.
He looks like Skeletor's rejected little brother with too much sunburn. Hugo Weaving is going full. I'm here for the paycheck, but I still want to ham it up like a Bond villain mode.
I like his Red Skull. A wasted villain. He should have been back for 3 movies. He should have been behind everything.
But when Schmidt dramatically removes his face mask to reveal his California raisin head, all I could think about is his constant threat of death by massive infection. And he's called Red Skull because his entire head is a red skull. Brilliant.
Brilliant.
There's also the prisoners. You've got your typical variety. Jailed, enslaved, experimented on, and murdered. Cap busts in to free them and says, "Follow me, guys. I punched Adolf Hitler like 200 times. And the movie does it again, when they all look at each other like it might actually be stupid to now follow this man.
Well, yeah, because he seems delusional and he's wearing tights and pirate boots.
The Errol Flynn boots on, man.
Right?
Meanwhile, Bucky is strapped to a medical table for some evil experiment, trademark, because Hydra is contractually obligated to do weird science on prisoners instead of just killing them.
And it was not Hydra specifically, it's Armin Zola. I guess, technically it's Hydra, but he's always like, I'm Swiss. That's why he came to work for the Americans.
Cap rescues Bucky, who must be wondering if Steve has been swimming in bull testosterone.
And this is kind of a hand-wavy explanation of why Bucky Barnes survives.
Then, Cap just walks out with like 400 rescued prisoners, and suddenly everyone's like, okay, yeah, maybe the sparkly tights guy is useful.
Well, he does kind of just walk out and appropriate a bunch of Hydra tech and blow everybody up that he didn't beat the shit out of going in.
My thing is, in this movie is, a couple of times they have him like sneaking off into the shrouded forest in a loud-ass red, white, and blue uniform.
Right? He is not covert.
He's not covert.
This is the only time we get a comic book accurate wahoo from Dum Dum Dugan, because this is the first introduction of the Howling Commandos.
The Howling Commandos.
Now, we're in montage mode, and Cap recruits his ragtag team of war movie stereotypes, the Howling Commandos. We've got Dum Dum Dugan, mustache, bowler hat, energy of a man who bathes in whiskey.
Played by the great Neil McDonough.
Gabe Jones, snarky, multilingual, competent, absolutely underutilized. He's the token black guy who somehow avoids racism in 1942.
He's also the descendant of the token black guy in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
Jim Morita, Japanese-American soldier who somehow avoids racism in 1942. Mostly.
He's also the ancestor of the principal of Spider-Man Homecoming.
Is he related to Pat Morita, Mr. Miyagi?
No.
We're moving on. There's also a French guy and a British guy.
The British guy is Union Jack.
I said if we told them the secret, we'd have to kill them, Carter.
Well, you know what? Their secrets are exposed.
These guys roll through Hydra factories like it's Call of Duty fucking Freedom Edition, while Red Skull's just chilling in his lair getting some poor artist to paint his portrait with no subject lighting. Oh, and he's building tanks with frickin' lasers on their heads now. This man saw war and thought, needs more bullshit.
Just decides to assassinate the Nazis that come knocking on his door, talking about you're appropriating too much funds.
Well, Hydra has outgrown the Nazis, unfortunately.
Well, when you're dealing with a cosmic cube, that is a lot of energy.
Listen, I was going to pump some of this energy back into the systems and get paid on my electric bills. Let's check the obligatory World War II action montage checklist. Explosions. Check. Motorcycle stunts. You know it. Shield throwing physics that don't make sense. Double check. Punching Nazis? Check. Of course. Also, at some point, Steve upgrades to a real Captain America outfit. A sleek, military-style suit with actual body armor instead of just loose cloth.
I like how they made every aspect of his uniform look functional. I like World War II Cap's look.
His best outfit, in my opinion.
For sure. The shield was changed to a round shield because Timely Comic Books got sued by a different comic book company over their character called
The
The
Shield.
Shield, who had a very similar look, same type of shield, etc. So Stan Lee, this is where he gets involved because this is a Joe Simon and Jack Kirby creation. So Stan Lee gets involved and says, you know what? Let's make the shield round. And that was it. About 6 issues later, he started throwing it like a frisbee.
Now he officially looks like a superhero, and not some mascot trying to sell home security. And speaking of protecting your home, we have a message from this Mission Log sponsor.
Nobody sponsors Mission Log reviews.
Fucking cut to the tape!
Is your neighbor acting strange? Do you fear the Marxist change? Lock your doors and trust no stranger. Hail Hydra keeps you safe from danger.
1943. A time of courage. A time of sacrifice. A time to watch your neighbor very, very closely. Is your neighbor acting strange? Had they forgotten to salute the flag this morning? Are they asking too many questions about the government? Then it's time to take action with Hail Hydra Home Security. With just one call, our trained agents will arrive discreetly to handle your domestic disturbances. Fast, efficient, untraceable. Powered by ancient alien cubes and good old-fashioned fear-mongering. Don't let liberty get in the way of loyalty, because freedom is chaos in disguise.
Is your neighbor acting strange? Do you fear the Marxist change? Lock your doors and trust no stranger. Hail Hydra keeps you safe from danger.
The Peggy Slowbird.
Peggy and Steve have enough tension to power a small city. Every look is like,
I want that pogo stick. But this is Disney. You walking thirst trap with morals, I see you.
and look, this chemistry, it's working. It's cold fusion, but it's fusing. Until she gets jealous of some random secretary and channels her rage into testing his new vibranium shield like she's cosplaying Laura Croft with daddy issues. Very healthy, and lucky on his part.
You have no idea how to talk to a woman, do you?
I gotta assume that she's been around the strategic scientific reserve long enough to have known the shield would do that and not ricochet bullets into a crowded lab. I don't think Peggy Carter's quite that reckless.
Well, thank God that shit worked as sold. Seriously, that was dumb, because what about ricochets? All because Marjorie Tyrell was choking Steve with her tonsils. To be fair, he said he doesn't know anything about women. No experience with them, so it makes sense he doesn't know the red flags. And the grab by the dick rule. So, Steve, if a strange girl, no matter how hot, walks up to you randomly and starts grabbing on your dick out of nowhere, you run. It's only going to end bad for you. And now look at Steve. See? He learned the hard way.
It's always bothered me. Because in the comic books, the shield is not vibranium. It's proto-adamantium. It is.
They didn't have rights to adamantium at the time, though, because they didn't buy
right,
Fox yet.
Yes, that's why it's made of vibranium. So, vibranium absorbs kinetic energy. So how does that motherfucking shield bounce?
How does that shield bounce? How do things ricochet off of it? And they do. They're not stuck in it. They don't just fall off. You can actually see the scorch marks, which they have for some reason. How does it bounce off of things back to him? If it absorbs all vibration, why are we hearing it ring after she shoots it?
The physics on that shield are bent, if not totally broken.
I feel like broken is being nice to it. They're completely bullshit.
That shield does exactly what it needs to do when it needs to do it.
That shield is a writer's tool. 100%.
It's magic.
It's magic as fuck. It does whatever we tell it to when we tell it to.
The S.H.I.E.L.D. in the comic books has the what we like to call the Worf dilemma.
What, it's supposed to be badass, but it keeps getting fucking owned?
Yes, just to illustrate how powerful somebody or something is.
They'll break the S.H.I.E.L.D.
Yeah, yeah.
The train scene.
Then comes the train mission, where the team goes after Zola, Red Skull's discount Q.
Armin Zola appeared in Captain and Falcon, number 208, 1977.
Armin Zola.
Yes.
I think they did a good job casting that guy.
Toby Jones. He's not, I mean, you said he's cast for an Armin Zola. He looks like an Armin Zola. And I said, well, not in the comic books, because in the comic books, he's just a face on a screen inside of a giant robot with no head.
Yeah, and he will, well, except for the giant robot.
It's just a TV with arms and legs.
Yeah, this guy's just becomes in the telly. I'm sure they'll eventually get there.
Ah, God, I hope so. Like Zola and Ultron have been two of my wanting to see, and I got an Ultron and I liked.
Did Zola never appear as human form in the comics?
Only for a few panels.
Oh, wow, that's short.
Yeah.
They zipline onto a freaking moving train in the middle of the Alps because realism is for losers. Everything's going great, too, until Bucky gets knocked off the side and falls into an abyss. Cap. No! Audience. Yes, very sad. See you soon, Winter Soldier.
Unless you're a real comic book fan, you wouldn't know. But yes, he's definitely coming. Spoiler alert for a 40-year-old spoiler. He comes back as the Winter Soldier. But it's not how he went in the comic books. First of all, in the comic books, he was still a kid.
Fell off a fucking rocket. Remember? You said that earlier. I remember that.
He
I'm
fell
proud
off a
of me.
rocket. Well, Captain America fell off. Bucky actually got stuck to a rocket.
That's so much funnier. Of course he did. The writers are dicks.
And he's been presumed dead. He was one of the first comic book deaths for a long time. The Winter Soldier thing was a big deal when it happened.
All he had to do was not jump in front of the fire of this pulse gun robot, and he would have been fine.
He would have been fine. All he had to do was just duck.
Or just stay where he was, even.
Right? Steve could have taken that hit. He did jump in to save Steve, but he didn't have to.
But that's stupid. That's
Right?
like Lois Lane jumping in to save Superman.
She would.
That's
She'd jump in
still
front of a
stupid.
bullet to save Superman. I know, stupid as fuck, right?
You can die, he can't. Bucky will come back later, sporting a metal arm and some severe brainwashing. But for now, Steve is super sad, you guys.
And this starts a 3+ movie arc of Steve Rogers trying to save Bucky Barnes. This is his greatest failure, and he spends the rest of his character story atoning for it.
That's the tastiest meat of this entire saga, in my opinion.
And here it begins. It is. It is.
The final act.
So, Bucky's gone, and Steve is spiraling. He's mourning the loss of his BFF by beating the absolute brakes off of every Hydra base on the continent, like he's trying to personally punch his way through the 5 stages of grief. Meanwhile, Red Skull is like, hey, what if we World War II but with space nukes? Because his plan now involves strapping a cosmic glowing death cube to a stealth bomber the size of a modern cruise ship, loaded with bombs labeled for every major city, from New York to Wakanda, probably. Subtlety is dead, and the funeral is being held on this damn plane.
So subtle, the name of the plane is the Valkyrie. If you don't get the reference, he gets to decide who goes to Valhalla and who doesn't.
Oh, I thought it was a reference to the failed mission to blow up Hitler.
Oh, yeah. Same diff.
Same diff.
Zola gets captured.
Steve's team catches Zola, the creepiest PowerPoint presentation of all time, but in human form. And Zola spills the beans. Red Skull's heading to drop off a galactic MacGuffin nuke on every city that's ever pissed him off. So, basically all of them. The US military's response? We can't get there in time. Steve's? Hold my star-spangled beer.
They stage one of the greatest attack on Force 10 from Navarone type heist I've ever seen. I mean, Steve literally gets himself captured as a distraction. Think about it. You send Steve Rogers in through the front door where he's going to be immediately captured. I mean, I thought that was the dumbest plan until I realized that, oh no, Steve was a diversion. The commandos, that's the plan.
Steve's the one that Red Skull would be focused on anyways. It's a good
Right.
plan.
Everybody would be focused on fucking Captain America's at the front door. Send everybody.
The big damn final mission.
Cap pulls out his custom Harley and full sends himself into the belly of the beast. Red Skull's flying Doom Fortress. He infiltrates the base, takes out an entire hallway of dudes using nothing but a shield and forced attitude, and crashes the bomber hangar like he's 19 on Bourbon Street. Cue an epic hallway brawl. Peggy sniping fools from afar, Howard Stark doing something, and the commandos going full Dirty Dozen with an explosion budget. Steve jumps into the plane because doors are for cowards and faces off with Red Skull for the final showdown.
Well, you missed the MIB callback for the car with Tommy Lee Jones in it. Where he pushes the red button.
Did that go over my head?
It's Tommy Lee Jones pushing a red button to make a car go faster. Totally a Men in Black call.
Tommy Lee Jones also had a really badass line in this movie where he goes to kill a Hydra soldier, and right before he gets shot, the soldier screams,
"Cut off the head, 2 more will take its place."
But before he even finished the line, Tommy shoots him and says, "Let's go find 2 more."
Yes, because he's a practical man. He'll cut off as many heads as it takes.
It was just such a badass, totally American World War II era thing to say.
It is. It is.
Cap versus Red Skull.
This fight is beautifully unhinged. 2 dudes in spandex punching each other in a plane full of nukes that literally flies in the face of physics. It's very 2010 cinematic, full of epic shield throws, hand-to-hand combat, and monologues about superiority.
You would think this movie was directed by somebody who directed The Rocketeer or something.
I mean, we did already blow that load, but it's true.
Yeah, I know. It's true. It's got that aesthetic. It's got that Sky Captain aesthetic.
It looks a little bit better than Sky Captain. Okay?
Oh, no, it looks a lot better.
It definitely looks like they shot it in front of a green screen on a stage, but better than shooting it in a closet.
Yeah, it's pretty good. Even the zero-G fight. They have a zero-G fight on this plane. It's pretty good.
Cap wrecks the controls and knocks Red Skull into the Tesseract, which he just barehand grabs for absolutely no explained reason whatsoever, opening a cosmic portal that yoinks him straight into a black hole, off somewhere into the infinite expanse of space, so we'll definitely mathematically never see him again.
On Vormir.
Shit. I'm kidding. You know Marvel's not done with that fool.
The iceberg ending.
With the plane full of WMDs and no autopilot, Steve realizes there's only one solution. Jump out without a parachute. No.
Crash the fucking plane into the Arctic. Crash the fucking plane into the Arctic. Crash the fucking plane into the Arctic. First day
invade. So just know that this sacrifice was made for the movie and the movie alone. There's no reason Steve Rogers had to go down with this airplane other than, and here's my theory, he was scared. He was scared to go back and face Peggy in a dance. He's like, he's never been with a woman before. And he's like, well, shit, there's only one real way out of this time. I'm just going to bite the dirt. See, like, if they find me, I'll postpone it at least another 6 months or so. So,
Hey, women are scary, bro.
Women are scary. That's my theory.
Ghoulish Nazis, whatever. Just don't make me ask a girl out on a date.
For the rest of his career, this dude is forever jumping out of airplanes. But not this one.
Emergency landing? Fuck no.
This airplane has smaller airplanes on it.
It's true. We saw that. We're established. Steve radios Peggy one last time, and they have a cringy goodbye moment. Steve, I don't think I'm going to make that dance. Immediately crashes. Peggy is sad, and Steve is a steroid popsicle. But remember the beginning when he was
waking up in 2011?
Steve wakes up in what looks like a 1940s hospital room, but something's off. He hears a baseball game that's already happened. He notices the decor is faker than a Nickelodeon house set, and he's just about to ask for the manager when in walks a very awkward S.H.I.E.L.D. agent. Nurse.
So, pretty sure that Black Widow was supposed to have a cameo in this scene. There was rumored talk about that. And the end credit scene was supposed to be different. The Hulk was supposed to find Captain America at the end of the Hulk. But they changed that because that was it was the same dark ending where he tried to shoot himself, so they didn't want to do that, I suppose. Which would have made that first Hulk movie that much better, in my opinion.
It's funny that scene had to be cut from Norton's movie because it was too graphic for Disney, but later on Ruffalo would reference doing it.
Yes.
In the Avengers.
Yep, a callback to a scene they never
released.
Produced.
Yeah. Steve bursts out of the fake room like a paranoid Kool-Aid man, sprints through Times Square, and gets surrounded by SUVs.
Mimicking his first run when he chased the Nazi.
He's the one being chased.
This time.
Nick Fury steps out of an SUV like, "Hey, you've been frozen for 70 years. Want to join a superhero club?"
Yes. Samuel L. Jackson's Nick Fury.
Not the David Hasselhoff version who's eating a cheeseburger drunk on the floor.
Oof.
Was that too much?
No, it's just that's the worst fucking Marvel movie made.
You got Dolph Lundgren's Punisher.
That was better than that S.H.I.E.L.D. movie with Hasselhoff. It's bad.
People pretend the worst Marvel movie ever is Corman's Fantastic Four, unreleased Fantastic Four, but it's actually fucking awesome.
Gold. Yeah. Because those actors tried.
They tried their asses off.
The only reason that's bad is because they had $1 million budget and the special effects show that they had $1 million budget.
Right? It was like a Roger Corman film. That was the only thing it had going against it. The cast and crew tried their asses off.
Right? Everybody in that film tried their asses off.
Had a lot of heart.
Yes.
Steve just stands there, in front of Fury, looking like a man who doesn't even know what Wi-Fi means, and says, "I had a date."
It's funny his mind goes there because he did everything to avoid it.
Bro, look around, man. Why is that what you're telling me right now?
It's really kind of a creepy fact. You know, he loved Peggy Carter so much that he got with her grandniece, basically her granddaughter. And that's comic book canon. That's
not love. That's possession.
That's weird.
You can't transfer love like that. That's possession. I dated these two twins, the Spin and Spun twins. When Spin broke up with me, I was so heartbroken from this girl I loved so much that I decided to date her twin to fill the void. It didn't have shit to do with love. And I was just too young to know it.
Yeah, no, they do a good job of establishing, a long-term kind of love interest. It takes a while. It doesn't just like Steve starts stalking Sharon Carter. It's not like that, but it's just weird.
It does go nowhere, and then Steve just ends up back with Peggy in the past, even though they're not supposed to be able to change the timeline, but somehow he goes back and lives in it. And we're moving on.
Final thoughts.
Captain America, the first Avenger, is a blast. It's a strange mix of old-school war film vibes, complete with dramatic explosions, sepia-toned montages, and soldiers drinking from metal cups. It's got sci-fi nonsense with lasers, glowing cubes, and Nazi iPads, and a man who physically transforms from frail art student to walking Dorito. The film leans heavily into Cap's comic book origins, which is both a strength and a weakness. It's got a heartfelt lead, but it also occasionally feels like he might have more of a psychopathic hero complex than genuine sincerity.
Well, Marvel comic book heroes were flawed in some level. They were still human, They weren't gods amongst men. They were just men playing at gods. Their characters spoke to, every man. People can relate to a guy with an alcohol problem and a power suit for some reason.
I might not have a power suit, but I definitely get drunk and beat my wife. I like this Hank Pym guy.
I was actually talking about Iron Man, but okay.
No, we're always talking about Hank.
Okay, the MCU Hank, he's a nice guy.
Yeah.
I would hang out with that Hank.
Yeah, he's Michael Douglas. We're not talking about that guy, though.
That Hank, probably the best Hank ever.
We're talking about the Hank that beat the shit out of Michelle Pfeiffer after one too many whiskeys.
Comic book Hank has identity crisis problems. He created Ultron.
Yes. Also in the comics, Hank created Ultron, not Tony.
It's a mess. Final thoughts on Captain America. At the time this movie came out, I was very excited. After I watched it, I was a little disappointed that I did not get. I got a lot of origin story, which I already knew, and as a comic book fan, that was kind of a disappointment because what I wanted to see is 2 hours of Captain America kicking Nazi ass, and I got that as a montage, and that kind of pissed me off because I wanted much more of that and less setup for big missions. They could have done a little bit better with the action montages and everything, but I understand they spent a significant amount of the budget on VFX.
There was way too much time spent into like him becoming Captain America and nowhere near enough time of him. Like this should have been Cap fighting the war. That's what this movie should have been.
Right.
I agree.
It's too much time becoming Captain America, not enough time being Captain
The
America.
movie worked well in its time, but does not hold up.
For sure.
Let's talk about the good. Chris Evans is Captain America. I mean, no debate. The man breathed life into Steve Rogers, playing him with just the right balance of earnestness, badassery, and awkward charm. Somehow, he makes perfectly moral guy who never makes a bad decision compelling instead of just annoying.
Chris Evans is Captain America. In fact, Chris Evans brings something to every role he's played in. I mean, I've liked him in just about every movie I've seen him in, except for Gray Man. And I think he was the best part of that movie. So no, Chris Evans, hands down, fantastic actor. He is Captain America.
To the point it screwed any mantle Caps later on.
Yeah, it's not going to be easy to have a Captain America that's not Chris Evans.
Peggy Carter is the real MVP. She doesn't just exist to be Cap's love interest, although that is 90% of it. She is an actual badass. She casually shoots at Cap just to test his shield, and remains more emotionally stable than anyone else in the movie, unless Marjorie Terrell is involved.
I like Haley Atwell's portrayal of Peggy Carter as a military SSR. SSR is the Strategic Scientific Reserve. Obviously, a take on the OSS of World War II. But with S.H.I.E.L.D. It's what S.H.I.E.L.D. becomes. She's hot.
Yeah, she's got some nice figures in her equation. Hydra's ridiculousness is peak entertainment. The Nazis were already cartoonishly evil, but Marvel was like, what if we made them worse and gave them lasers? Red Skull has a bone-deep hatred of subtlety and yells, "Hail Hydra," while pressing self-destruct buttons, for example. These guys have double-fisted salutes. Oh, and by the way, just like your dancing chorus girls, the scene where he has like this infinite army of guys raising their fists at the same time. It's obviously one dude pasted like 1 billion times.
Yeah, a few more than one, but yes. You're absolutely right. Hail Hydra.
Deliciously
He's so
stupid.
Hydra, he's got a Hydra embossed file holder on his desk. If you notice, everything has the Hydra logo on it.
We're so secret, we've branded everything.
Right? That means somebody somewhere manufactured that.
Then they had to kill him, by the way.
Yeah, well, probably, because it's Hydra. They're evil.
Buy Hydra Home Security, by the way. The CGI Steve Rogers is better than it should be. Honestly, it's weirdly good how they managed to make Chris Evans look like a malnourished Victorian child. Sure, in some scenes, his head looks slightly too big for his body, and it doesn't really hold up, but hey, in 2011, I was buying it.
In 2011, it was pretty nice. I wonder how they did that for a long time. Like, it's not his whole body CGI, and it's like, it was weird back in the day.
Layered plate comping.
Layered plate comping. They shot him 4 different times. Well, they shot him and his body double 4 different times to get that overlay.
Blank plate,
of
too.
Skinny Steve. Yeah. The CGI is good. There's a lot of good with the movie. Like I said, I only have one problem. We didn't get enough time of Captain America being Captain America. That was actually basically the 3rd act of the movie.
Another good is the action scenes deliver. Whether it's Cap punching Nazis, jumping off tanks into Nazis, or casually frisbeeing his shield into Nazis' faces like an Olympic discus champion. The fight choreography is pretty good.
The fight choreography is pretty good. They make the shield do some stuff, and Chris Evans really sells it. He really sells it because every time he throws that shield, it's a digital shield. He doesn't have a shield. So he's selling that shot every single time. And he does a fantastic job with it.
Frisbee golf champ, 1943.
Right?
And one more good thing about the movie was Howard Stark being Wish.com Tony, because you just know that man left a trail of broken hearts across 1940s America.
Dominic Cooper did a fantastic job playing a young Tony Stark. It's so much so that he reprised the role in Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D.
I liked him as Tony's dad way better than the guy that they later got to play Tony's dad.
The older Howard Stark.
Yeah, Dominic Cooper apparently gains like 6 inches and an elongated face at some point.
Starts looking a lot more like Walt Disney.
Let's talk about the bad. Red Skull's dumbest moment. He's cheesy yet menacing right up until he grabs the Tesseract with his bare hands like a moron, effectively defeating himself. He's the first MCU villain to get Thanos snapped before Thanos was even a thing, and his reward is to go stand by a cliff forever now.
It is kind of weird. They talk about the stones. This is before they even knew it. I guess it was supposed to be the Cosmic Cube, but they couldn't use that either because the Cosmic Cube is tied up with Fantastic Four rights at the time.
They had no idea what they were doing yet.
They had to call it the Tesseract. So the fact that he shows up later because it's the Space Stone just goes to the fact that all of the Infinity Stones are supposedly somewhat sentient and connected. So perhaps the Space Stone, as a punishment for all of Red Skull's foul deeds, he has to walk Vormir and tell everybody what's needed to be sacrificed.
Bucky's death is laughably avoidable. Bucky, my dude, you were literally standing next to Captain America. Maybe next time grab him or hold on to something?
Yeah, either that or just let him take the shot. It is Captain America. It probably won't kill him.
Yeah, Lois should not take a bullet for Superman. That's all we're saying.
That's all we're saying.
Why did they put their only super soldier on a stage? The US government had a one-of-a-kind prototype superhuman weapon, and they were like, okay, but hear us out. What if he did theater instead?
Instead of Black Ops. What if we did theater instead of try to assassinate
Hitler and in this war, save lives.
They wanted to keep him safe because his blood was the only super soldier serum. Which is also dumb to me because why would you only make one dose of this shit? What if something went wrong? That's my whole thing. It's like
his formula wasn't written down. It was all in his head. Like all of his results, his testing, his theories, his hypotheses.
Yeah.
Everything, every result from every test. That's not how science works, asshole.
That's not how science works. And why did you only leave one spare vial? What were you going to do with one spare vial? It took 8 just to get him to there. Like, what were you going to do with one?
The ending is a downer. Yes, we knew Cap had to end up frozen, but the awkward, jarring silence of him waking up in the future just feels like a harsh emotional whiplash. We go from explosions, punching, and nationalism to, oh no, I missed my date. And also everyone I know is dead.
Yeah. I don't know. I mean, we definitely needed to have Captain America in the MCU. How they brought him in, I think having him as the end credit scene on the Hulk movie would have been better.
Oh yeah, I agree with that 100%. We would have had a better opening for this movie, likely, then.
We would have had a better opening for this movie, right.
Final star rating. I gave it plus 10 stars for Chris Evans being the perfect Captain America, plus 5 stars for Peggy Carter punching a guy in the face with 0 hesitation, plus 3 stars for Howard Stark being peak Tony Stark but with 1940s hair gel, plus 2 stars for Bucky calling Steve a 90-pound asthmatic to his face, plus 1 star for I can do this all day just because it's iconic trademark, and plus 1 star for Red Skull being extra enough to have his own special salute and logo. Minus 3 stars for Bucky's tragic death when he could have just grabbed Cap's hand or literally anything else nearby. Minus 2 stars for the Tesseract being a glowing blue MacGuffin cube that's only made important later on. Minus 1 stars for Hydra's technology being more advanced in 1942 than our real-world technology in 2025. Minus 1 star for Cap's training camp grenade test, which I found forced and lame. Minus 2 stars for Red Skull forgetting how burning your hands on an unknown energy source works. I'm calling OSHA. Minus 2 stars for the US government looking at a super soldier and thinking, Broadway. And minus 2 stars for Steve deciding to crash into the ice instead of literally trying anything else.
Anything. He could have jumped out of the fucking plane. It's your thing.
You're the Freedom
Do your
Eagle.
thing.
Fly. For a final score of 9 Captain Americas, this is one of the better origin stories, but the problem is it held too long, as Carter said, on the origin and not enough of the story. But I still found it, even today, pretty enjoyable, even if Bucky forgot how to hold on to things. For a final verdict of, it's okay.
It's okay. I'm going to be ranking these movies much in the way we did the Bond franchise. As far as the movie goes, number 1. For comic book accuracy, it's 1. All of these categories are going to be 1. We've only reviewed 1 movie. Also, CGI special effects, pretty good. Nothing that's crazy to take you out of the movie. We're going to count how many sky beams we're going to have in these Marvel movies. This is the first one. I'm wondering if there's a sky beam in every movie. I got to think about this.
That's all they did, like clone villains and sky beams.
Yeah, clone villains and sky beams.
This guy technically is a clone villain, too.
He is. No, they're all clone villains for their first movies, for sure, except for Thor. Thor did not fight a clone villain. For post-credit scenes and tie-ins, we missed a Stan Lee cameo.
So what happened is the guy who's been, his pimp, manager, promoter, pushing him through the USO tour, got him to meet these dignitaries and generals, and he says, I'm going to introduce you to my personal friend, Captain America, and when he doesn't come out, and this other guy comes running out like, oh shit, he's not here because he ran off on a mission finally. Cuts to the audience, and you see, in general outfits, Stan Lee whispering, I thought he'd be taller. To Red Brown, and Red Brown, of course, being Motorcycle Cap back in the 70s.
Of course. Motorcycle Cap. I think I'm going to be sick. Oh, no, that's the other.
No, that's Matt Salinger. That's 90s Cap.
Yeah.
Motorcycle Cap was way cooler than 90s Cap, but he did have a motorcycle helmet for a superhero helmet.
He did. This is a pretty decent Stan Lee cameo. As far as the post-credit scene, it's an okay post-credit scene. It's not neither here nor there. It's just another setup for the Avengers, and I think the first 3 of them do that in their post-credit tie-ins, which is something that Marvel was smart about in the beginning and kind of really fucked up in the end. Villain, Red Skull, number 1 so far, first movie. Hugo Weaving, in my opinion, was a wasted villain. Marvel does this with most of their villains. For hero and arc...
Let me guess.
Yeah,
number 1.
It is. Captain America has a pretty decent arc. This movie is going from skinny Steve to responsible buff Steve.
Does he actually have an arc in this movie? Does he actually? Not really.
Not really.
He actually just gets validated in the same position he was in the first place.
Right, he does. Sidekick, Bucky Barnes. He doesn't do much in this movie other than pump up Steve's ego.
You know who has an arc in this movie? Tommy Lee Jones.
Tommy Lee Jones does have an arc.
He does.
In this movie.
He actually does. More than Cap does.
Yeah, pretty much. He goes from being a curmudgeon who doesn't believe Cap can do it to actually enjoying Cap.
He goes from a dude set in his ways and refusing to even think outside of it to a dude who learns to give people faith.
Right. Plot? It's number 1, but it's not going to stay up there. Villain's accomplice, Armin Zola. He's number 1 for right now. He's not going to last. Peggy Carter, girlfriend, number 1. She'll probably remain in the top 10. For set and locations, most of these sets were actually sets, not just a couple of chairs on a green screen, as Matthew says.
I don't believe that shit. That set for the transformation, though, that 50s, 40s sci-fi.
Everything on that set worked.
Like the old speckled metal, the way that things used to look back then. Everything looked so chef's
like
kiss.
Your grandma's old refrigerator. It was awesome.
Like my grandpa's old shop. It was perfect.
Music, number 1 so far.
The music was very meh. It was very generic, very repetitive. It will probably not be one long.
No, it probably won't be one long. And that's it.
Captain America, the First Avenger. is still one of Marvel's best origin stories, as I stated before, giving us a charismatic hero, a kick-ass female co-lead, and a villain who's entertainingly dumb. But it's pretty campy, and constantly committing dumb writing sins and hand-waving them away. Would I recommend it? If you love superheroes, or watching tiny Steve Rogers struggle to lift things, then yes. Would I change anything? Give Bucky better grip strength. Maybe have Steve try something other than sacrificial plane crash as his plan A. And Red Skull, buddy, just don't touch the glowing blue space cube, okay?
I would recommend this movie if you were a Captain America fan or a Chris Evans fan or even a Hugo Weaving fan.
We've already said what you'd change. You want more war.
Right. I would not recommend this movie if you want to see a good Captain America movie. It's a good starter flick if you want to jump into the MCU.
What you just said was the point, though. It's a good starter flick, and it was the good starter flick for them starting the MCU, too.
All right.
Before they had raised their own bar, this was serviceable.
This was serviceable. Overall, I would recommend Captain America. It's all right.
And that's it for this mission file. Thanks for joining us on this epic journey through 1940s history, where science is questionable and patriotism is measured in vibranium shields. Join us next time for the other captain. I'm Agent Sedgwick.
I'm Special Agent Carter. Agents out.
Amazon bought MI6, now it's all warehouse space. Carter told Sedgwick to come to S.H.I.E.L.D. and burn down the place. Carter knows the comics. Sedgwick is a savage. They calling out these heroes for their bullshit and their baggage. Up first! Up first! Who's first? Up first! Let's get it! Up first! The first Avenger. Steve was a scrawny bitch from Brooklyn, getting punked out every day. He had a laundry list of complexes, but he could do this all day. Then some random crazy guy came up offering drugs. So Steve sold his soul for a six-pack and shot them all up. Now he's wearing a flag and saving the day. He's a 70-year-old virgin, but he's not gay. Up first! Up first! Who's first? Up first! Let's get it! Up first! The first Avenger. Bucky's the BFF. No homo. There's Dum Dum and the rest. Red Skull and Hydra on this world war quest. Agent Carter, know the other one. The one you'd wanna kiss. She has her sights on Steve, and this girl don't ever miss. Peggy Carter, red dress, she wants you. You promised, save the dance, what you gonna do? Crash the fucking plane into the Arctic. Crash the fucking plane. Crash the fucking plane into the Arctic. Crash the fucking plane into the Arctic. First date, free fade. Crash the fucking plane into the Arctic. Crash the fucking plane into the Arctic. First date, evade. Crash the fucking plane into the Arctic. Crash the fucking plane into the Arctic. First date, evade. Bucky, you a G, and we waiting on you. Right here at S.H.I.E.L.D, burning the MCU. Cap was just the first, but trust we coming for the crew. Carter and Sedgwick out for blood and on the loose.
Post-credits. We get a quick teaser where Steve's punching bags into oblivion at a gym. Probably because therapy is for people who aren't made of biceps. Nick Fury then walks in like, "We've got a mission." That's bloody it. It's almost a repeat of the final scene, and literally and immediately leads to a straight trailer for the Avengers.
Because it's probably close to the first scene in the Avengers? It's up there. It's like I think the Loki appears first.
I can safely, confidently say it takes place in between the SUV scene where Nick Fury introduces himself and the first scene of Avengers.
Yeah.
Nailed it.